Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. As you can tell, this is not Tom Davis. This is Reggie Hayes, full of wit and cheap shots, as always, covering high school football for the News Sentinel. Also covers Colts, also covers pretty much everything that they throw at you, right?
Got it.
Well, it's pretty exciting because the first week of sectional play, we saw a ton of upsets here in Northeast Indiana, which is always interesting. I'm sure the weather had a little bit to play in that because it's always the great equalizer out there on the football field. But before we get started to break down all the brackets, what was your impression of the first week of high school playoffs here in Northeast Indiana?
Well, I think some of them lived up to what they expected. I know the Homestead Snyder became a battle, especially as Snyder battled back. I was surprised that Columbia City knocked off Leo, although Columbia City has come on as the season's progressed. And obviously, when you get to that tournament, it's like, okay, now it's all clear. It's all clear. We can start over. If you haven't had the best year, you can say, okay, this is where we start fresh. And there's a freshness that first sectional game that showed in a lot of places.
And your Norwell boys did it too.
Exactly.
They felt the new season upon them. Well, let's start off with 5A Sectional 2 action. Only one local team, but it's a team that has made a lot of noise. I'm talking about the Carroll Chargers. They go to LaPorte in round one, which is a long way to go for a sectional game, so you never know how they're going to respond. They respond well with a 49-7 win at LaPorte, but they've got a tough team in Penn this week. Penn comes in the top 10, ranked 8th. Snyder beat them earlier in the season. But this is a team with a versatile quarterback, and it's going to be a tough one because it's on the road for the Chargers.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough one, but I like what Carroll's been able to do this year. I think as Doug Dinan's taken over the program, they've made that initial step each year, and this year has been really strong. I mean, as you said, they had those 2 losses. Now, Penn, I think probably Penn has a little bit more tournament experience, knowing, how you win in the tournament situation. I don't know the age of their team, if a lot of them have tournament experience or not, but Carroll's got to be opportunistic, I think. They've got to avoid turnovers. They've got to use find the way to steal a couple, whether it's a Tranquil boys or whoever it might be that steals an extra score for them.
So you got to figure Penn probably the favorite in this one, being at home and also with the experience. But if you're Carroll, you mentioned trying to steal one or maybe get a big play from one of the Tranquils. If you're Doug Dinan in practice this week, what are you saying? What are you telling these Chargers?
I think you tell them that you win the battle of will at the line of scrimmage. That's one thing that he's really done with this team, is he's made them tougher physically, tougher mentally, and I think that this is a great test for him because you're going to have to play this type of team, traditional power, as you build a program, and this is a great game for them to show where they're at.
And speaking of great tests, it was a great test last week for the Snyder Panthers. They were at Spooler Stadium taking on an undefeated Homestead team, and Snyder came out firing on all cylinders in the first half. We saw the ebb and flow with Homestead making it a ball game, but Snyder ultimately able to close it out. You expected Snyder in many ways to win that game. One team you didn't expect to see them in the second round, though, would be the Wayne Generals. They go down to Kokomo, and Kokomo is probably tired of seeing SAC teams in the postseason because they just kill them. But an amazing turn of events. They kick a field goal at the end, and now Wayne is in the second round of the playoffs against Snyder. This is a game 34-3 we saw in the final week of the regular season. Can Wayne make it closer than that?
Well, I think mentally they're going to be on a high, and they also enter as those teams that are upset winners. Nothing to lose. I mean, if they go out and play Snyder and Snyder wins by a couple touchdowns, even more than that, well, you know what? We got that sectional win. We played better as the season went on. You're happy with your season. Snyder, on the other hand, has to be careful not to be thinking, well, we're just going to roll over Wayne. We've done it before. We'll do it again, and get a little sloppy. And so you can't have that. And I doubt that Coach Tippmann will let them get in that mindset.
Yeah, Coach Tippmann hasn't lost a sectional game since being the head coach at Snyder. Wayne has had a great run, obviously, with that week 1 victory in the postseason, but it's going to be tough sledding, especially because it's the scene of the crime, if you will, the exact same place where they lost 34-3 pretty convincingly in week 9 for the Snyder Panthers.
Right, and I think Snyder is just a more powerful team, and they're really clicking in all phases, and I think that Wayne has their work cut out for him, but you know what? You're playing the second week. You can't ask for anything more.
Exactly, a lot to build on for Robert Brown's team as he continues his second season leading the Generals program. Now, on the other half of this bracket, we've got a really interesting matchup because this is a Southside team that a couple of weeks ago we saw them doing on offense, put up 75 as school record when they made the long trip to Gary Wallace. And then they do it with defense last week, 14-6 over a high-scoring Huntington North offense that we know can pass the football. So they're really 2 weeks ago they click on offense. Last week they click on defense. If they do both, this could be a ball game against Northside.
Danger.
Exactly. Danger Will Robinson.
I'm impressed, especially seeing what Huntington have been able to do. And I know the conditions weren't favorable to passing the ball, but I mean, they took it away completely.
Absolutely.
I mean, to just shut it completely down is an impressive feat. And I know South has improved as well as the season goes on, as the season has went on. And I like the matchup, North-South rivalry that's always there. So there's always that added edge to it. And Snyder or Southside comes in just. They have to be feeling really good.
Yeah, this was a game a few weeks ago. We saw it was 42-13. Northside pretty much controlled that one from the get-go. But this is a better Southside team than we saw 3-4 weeks ago. As far as this game goes, do you see this as being decided by a few big plays? Because C.J. Jackson and Anthony Lanier, they're big play guys. And on Southside side, you've got Mabel, you've got Aaron Thomas who can return kicks. He scored 6 different ways this season. They're kind of a big play offense where they get their points from.
Yeah, I mean, they can come up with big plays. And as you mentioned, with Northside having 2 guys that really we always look at in the highlight Friday night highlight zone, they're always there.
I should have mentioned Donovan Clark, too, because he's always there.
Oh, yeah, Donovan Clark's and Gleason, some other guys that are always there. I do think when you play a rematch with SAC opponents, there's no surprises really. I mean, these guys know each other off the field. They're familiar with each other. So I don't know if there's an element of surprise that can come into play, but big plays can change momentum. So that's what South will be looking for as they try to get an upset here.
Yeah, Eddie Fields, much like Robert Brown, continues to build that program.
Right.
And they are playing their best football at the best time of the season.